Welcome to the Intuitive Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Rafferty, a shamanic healer that's trained in Western medicine and acupuncture. And I'm here to bring you on a journey of holistic healing that explores the science of the physical body, combined with mental and emotional well-being, energetic and spiritual health. And I am so excited to be back today talking to Senga Cree, this absolutely radiant soul that came into my world a couple of months ago and actually has been such a guiding light and a force for me. And I'll totally get into why once we, say hello to Senga. Hi, Senga.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, Senga, it's such a pleasure. And I suppose we'll tell the listeners a bit about how we met, So last year, it's coming up on a year, actually, funnily enough. And I spoke about this in the podcast that I did about my Oracle card deck and how it kind of came into fruition, how it came to be. And I'd been doing the Artist's Way. And I had carved out these moments every morning to journal and to speak into the world I was trying to create, and it opened up this beautiful portal of time in my life for downloads of information to come through with regard to what I needed to create in the world. And an Oracle card deck was coming through for a couple of weeks, a couple of months. And I remember in one meditation, I could see clearly the first card, which was the wolf card. And the wolf is one of my power animals, my spirit animals that I work with. And I was like, I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this. But I didn't have any time or space to really sit with it when it first started coming through. So my partner and I went away for a holiday, and as soon as I got onto the plane and actually switched off from the rest of my life, the downloads of information that came through me, I literally wrote, I'd say about 20 pages in my journal as I was sitting on this plane. And I arrived we went to Corfu at the time, and I arrived into Corfu and I was like, oh my God, that's it. I'm making an Oracle card deck, and it has to have all of these different guides and it has to have all this information. It literally came through in the space of an hour. And I said to my other half, I'm going to create an Oracle card deck and I've bloody no idea how to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. And he started laughing. So we get into our accommodation. I flick open my Instagram, and Kathy, and I previously recorded a podcast episode with Kathy. She's the Enlightened Heartseer on Instagram. And Kathy was talking about this Oracle card deck that she just created with this absolutely magical soul called Senga Cree. And I contacted her. I was like, how did you do this? Literally, the synchronicity of seeing this on Instagram was just so on point. And she said, you need to contact Senga. You need to contact Senga because Senga has this course called the Card Creation Lab, and you need to speak to her about it because it literally transformed how I went on this journey. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to you, and you that week had only just started the next cohort.
Cohort. So I love the synchronicities of how your future self, the universe, just gave you everything you needed at the time that you needed it.
That was literally it. And I have to tell you, I've told so many people about your course. I would not in a million years have been able to create what I created without you. The infrastructure that you created within that course, just the capacity and the space for people's creativity to actually come through. It was absolutely magical. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. And I'd love to just hear more about how you reached that point, because from our previous discussions, I know you have lived a life somewhat like mine, probably about 9 or 10 lives in one. How did you end up creating Oracle card courses?
I love this. Part of my work now is around about identity work. I'm an identity and business mentor, but in past lives, I started my career as a physiotherapist in the body. And what I think now is I've went full swing right round to identity, which for me is the energetic body. It's like the energetics of who you are. So I think my work has always been about embodiment. But when I look back, I think it was it Steve Jobs that says you can only connect the dots looking back. And so when I started my career as a physiotherapist and then went into leadership roles, like professional leadership roles, and then much wider healthcare roles, I led musculoskeletal services for Scotland for 7 years, so working with GPs and allied health professionals, orthopaedic consultancy around about pathways. So my brain's very much strategy, big picture, and spotting things and thinking about how can we improve this, but from a what would be good for everybody perspective. So that like all encompassing. So my delight is in seeing people and seeing their potential and their shine and everything they're here to bring. And then before I jumped across to coaching my own business, I worked for 7 years in Scottish Government leading health and employability and the importance of work, but work for me less about to make money at the end of the month and survive, and to like, what is the work that I am alone here to do? What is my genius? And so I was totally busy in that role, but created a little side hustle because, I mean, when you're a busy person, like, why not just have another job? when you're like working all the hours. And I created this coaching group called Inner Fire. And for years, did local workshops, had an online group, and then started deciding one year to do retreats, just like out the blue. I think I'll do retreats. And Googled, as you do, retreat villas in Spain, and my first retreat was born, which I did in one of my 6 weeks annual leave. So I was even like in my annual leave, taking people on retreat, taking women on journeys, helping them think about how they would love to live, what would like a most exponential, iconic living in business look like. So that is how I started. And you were asking me about the cards. I ran a New Year program called Portal. It was about 6 days of stepping through the portal into the new year. And an idea like you came, like, I could actually create an oracle deck from that. And if I'd thought so many years before in government that one day I would be holding an oracle deck of cards, like it wouldn't make any sense. And that brought my portal deck. And after I did that, I thought, that was like super easy. I could help people like create their own. And so every offer, the retreat led to 40 retreats. The card deck portal led to the portal card deck. Portal card deck led to card deck creation lab. So my work is very much about like, it's lovely to have this huge, big future self vision, but you don't need to have it all figured out, because the next thing will take you to the next thing. And I'm sure your oracle deck is going to take you now on this journey that you haven't even contemplated.
Do you know, it's so wild because when I sit with people, and especially when I do kind of destiny retrieval work with people, that's like, because we think about shamanic medicine a lot of the time in the context of exploring our shadow.
Yeah.
And we forget really that actually there's a whole other light aspect of that too, and I think going on the journey with people, yes, I think the shadow work it's so important so that we can actually strip back a lot of the conditioning, the fears, all of these aspects of what we've been conditioned to believe about ourselves and about the world and our potential. But it's also so important to begin to actually look at, well, actually, what does my destiny hold? Or what's a destiny retrieval, And that's one of my favorite parts of the work. And I think when I go on a journey with destiny retrieval, it's so interesting because for myself, I find that I get in my own shamanic journeys these visions of the future. And I literally see myself. I see the room, I see the space, I see what I'm doing. But then my mind goes into this space of, oh my God, how do I get there? I need to be there immediately. Exactly. What about all the steps? I forget about the steps.
This is where people get overwhelmed. And this is like the work I am now so passionate. I love that you talked about destiny, because what I think is a lot of people base their next steps based on their past. Oh, last month I made that amount of money, so next month this must be possible. Or they're very conditioned collectively. Even I talk in my book about even the country you live in. A Scottish culture and energetics is very different, say, from an Italian energetics. We've got collective energies. And one of the things I've found is that actually we do a lot of focus on our shadows. Oh, I need to get that better first, or I need to be healed, or I need to fix. And my experience with working with thousands of people is that we should actually focus much less on our shadows, on our healing, on fixing, and let our future be our guide in the now. And one of the things I've found is that the bigger the future you have, the bigger your now. So instead of being this masculine linear, I'll work away step by step, what I've found is that if you can imagine the biggest lightest, and I love that your gene keys are light, two of your gene keys are about the light, thinking about the biggest future you can possibly have. Worry less about the how. So we go wide first, huge big future, but then how do we bring it back narrow to right, what's my right next steps? So a lot of my work is working with people on what is the biggest future you can imagine, but then we bring it back into a 12-week plan. And I love a 90-day thing because I really think we don't know what's going to happen in the next minute. So why are we worrying about a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan? It's like, think huge. And the other thing I've found is that most people don't actually know what they desire. And this is why they don't get what they want. Because we're in a reactive, like, oh, what's everyone else got thing, rather than sitting in the silence and the present and the moment of what is it I truly desire? What do I want?
Oh, Senga, you're literally speaking to my soul here. It was so funny because, I think it's so tricky, and you will have absolutely been on this journey as well, as someone who's kind of navigated and traversed so many different spaces professionally. And it's almost like, I feel like people who do this type of work, we become bridges in a lot of ways where yes, it's like bridging kind of different ways of seeing the world. And it's almost like, and I have to really sit with that a lot, to be honest with you, because I think the shamanic work and the energetic work is just so incredible and can help people on a level that I don't think necessarily like talking can, to a certain extent. And I feel like there's like some people come to me and they potentially have like seen a GP or they've seen a therapist. Mm-hmm. But when we do the energetic work, I see huge changes for them, And like I tend to find with this type of journey that it blows my mind, the impact that I can see with it, that sometimes I get really pulled into that space and I'm like, I just want to be doing all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I realize that actually the real life world of all the medical training and all of these things, they have such valid weight in a lot of senses too. So how do we continue to bridge all of these different parts of who we are and the journey that we've been on?
And I think it's the bridge between beliefs and biology, isn't it? And between the science and spirituality. And for me, I've worked in it for 33 years. So I see that, if I have something wrong and I need to go to A&E or a consultant, that's what I want to do. But there's huge power, and I've seen this a lot in my physiotherapy work. Two people can come to you with the same condition, and depending on whether they've got an internal, external locus of control, whether they believe they can get themselves better. Oh, we're right. I think we get a bit of a hitch.
Maybe. A little glitch.
Whether they believe they have the power to create their health. And it comes back to identity. It comes back to who you believe yourself to be and the power you have to believe that you create your life. So what I think is that I can steer my destiny. I can dictate my future. I can call in my future self. And I don't just have one future. I have infinite possibilities in terms of future. And so the bigger my imagination, so it's like what I can imagine, anything I can imagine, the bigger my future. So the bigger my destiny. And when I believe I've got I like steer the ship in that, then that changes everything. The same with healing. Last year I was leading a retreat in Bali, and on our last day I slipped in some rocks and managed to knock myself out, but also tore my hamstring in 3 places. I thought I'd broke my leg, and all these beautiful Balinese people ran down and carried me to a hospital. Carried me. And the next day I was flying to Singapore, and I've treated these hamstring injuries in footballers that take 6 months to heal. And that night I decided I was getting on the plane. I couldn't wait there. I couldn't but I decided in my head, once I knew it wasn't broken, that I was going to be on that plane the next day. And I walked on that plane because I believed it was going to happen. I don't know how it happened. I just believed and told my body it was going to happen. And it did.
Do you know, it's so fascinating because I literally posted something on Instagram yesterday about belief, and it was to do with some of my fertility clients that I work with. I just love fertility and supporting people to bring new light into the world, because I really think we're in this phase of kind of global or collective evolution in which actually the souls that are coming in at the moment are so high vibrational in their energy, and they're here to change the world,
And as are we all. And so yes. About instead of focusing on my shadows, our self-talk is so important. We're repeatedly thinking the same thoughts. So the awareness of that, the noticing, and the spectacular self-talk to yourself in terms of like self-honor, be obsessed with yourself. We can only change the world collectively by individually being the light.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. And there's so many points coming out that I'm like, I want to explore that more, because you mentioned the locus of control with regard to all of this sort of stuff. Can you explain a little bit about what the locus of control is? Because I think sometimes there is definitely a sense with some of my clients that they feel they have no control over their world, and so I'd love to hear your kind of thoughts around what the locus of control is. How do we shift?
Yeah, well, in my healthcare world, I've talked about locus of control, but in my spiritual and coaching world, I talk about personal power.
Yes, I love that.
So for me, it's about, am I deciding that I am fully in my personal power, or am I outsourcing that power? And in shadow or victim, it's very easy and it's about radical responsibility. So it's very easy to say, oh, per me, it's because of, and we point outwards, and that's the external. We're giving our power away to someone else, even in a victimized state. Per me. And so for me, in my identity book, I talk about 3 foundations to activate personal power and to activate identity up levels, because I feel we're always moving through different identities. We get to choose who we want to be. We can be anybody we want to be. And that's not just in your thoughts. That can be in what you create, in your bank account, in where you live and how you decide to live. And so my foundations are around about, there's 3 foundations. I am open. I am here. It's who I am. And so even just sitting, feeling into them just now, I am open's about fascination. What am I obsessed with, which includes yourself. I'm curious about everything. Oh my God, I met somebody and she had an oracle deck and I want an oracle deck. And why am I dreaming about oracle decks? Fascinated, yeah?
Yeah.
Then that impacts on our home frequency. And so I call our home frequency a set point in terms of our personal power, the frequency we give out to other people. And you know this, you can look at people and you immediately can sense where their home frequency is at in terms of shadow or radiance. And
totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you can absolutely get a sense of that. Yeah. And I think like as someone who works in energetics, obviously the minute I open the door to someone at the practice, like I'm already getting a sense of their energy even before they've sat into the seat and I followed them down the hall. Exactly. I already have received so much information about their energetics.
Yeah. And so for everybody listening, just be thinking about what feels like the set point of my home frequency just now, and how do I get to influence that? And that is influenced by the second foundation I talk about in my book called I Am Here. And I Am Here is about presence, that present in the now, and what I'm giving my attention to in the now, because what you give your attention to in the now creates your present. So
absolutely.
Presence, attention, and present are all a little like trilogy. And the other part of the I Am Here code is about placement. Where am I placing myself? What conversations am I placing myself in? What rooms am I placing myself in? What environments in terms of the conversations I'm having with people, the support I ask for. All about placement. What countries am I placing myself in? One of my things when I jumped across to my coaching was I had not only had personal freedom, but I had financial freedom and entrepreneurial freedom and geographical freedom. So suddenly I could work from anywhere. So I started placing myself in different countries and different environments, and that changed my identity and my energetics.
Isn't that phenomenal? Because I suppose when I was going through my shamanic training, one of the teachers that I really had loved to learn a lot from, and he used to speak about fate, and that fate was fatal at the end of the day in some senses, because it's actually what we're told we can and can't do. Yeah. And it's almost like we learn to look for permission. Yeah. And this is fascinating. A lot of the women's work that I do, it's almost like as I speak to them, they're like, who do I ask for permission from to do that? Yeah. And I'm like, yourself.
This is back to personal power, because the third part of my thing is it's who I am. And the personal power is about personal power over circumstantial power. So there's always going to be circumstances. There's always going to be conditioning. There's always going to be things going on in the world. And this is not taking yourself away from that. You can have the compassion for everything that's going on in the world. But how are you responding to that rather than reacting? How are you choosing? And it's all about that discernment, it's that choosing. So I'm remaining in my personal power, whatever the circumstances. Oh, I put something up, nobody bought it. I'm still okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, oh, that didn't work out the way I expected to do, but I'm still in my home frequency, my set point, my standards, my personal power. And so we behave and we act differently. And so this understanding whether, I'm in circumstantial power, that happened, so this is terrible, versus I'm always in my personal power regardless of the circumstances.
And how do we go on a journey to learn that? Because, I think there's so many times when I sit with people, and even on my own journey as well, like even as soon as you open Instagram, sometimes I feel like you give away your personal power, even with the first post.
Social media is designed for us to give away our personal power. So one of the things for me is about deciding who I'm following. This is all about placement as well. Where you place yourself and what social media platforms I place myself in. How often do I place myself in them? And we then begin to, we begin to do comparison, or we begin to do imitation rather than innovation. And so part of our placement is deciding how much time am I spending in silence? How much time am I giving to that? Or when I see something, am I seeing that as an inspiration? Or am I seeing that as a pecking order of, because we as creatures put ourselves into hierarchies, which is the masculine, old-fashioned, and almost a bit of the patriarchy. Whereas my work and the Gene Keys work and my identity work is all about synarchy, like me and you together we rise. So there's no hierarchy at all.
Yeah.
And you can see how in the medical profession that plays out. We put ourselves into a hierarchy, say, under a doctor, because we're looking for, we give away our locus of control and personal power for someone to fix us, rather than deciding. And when I was talking about my leg healing, I didn't think about how I'm going to do this. I just told my body it knew what to do. I know what I was saying in my internal dialogue was, I know you know what to do.
Yeah. And this is fascinating because over the last week or two, I'd been in and out of a couple of different healthcare settings, having meetings, things like that. And, I went in, and there was one meeting that I had was with somebody who, it was almost like there was an air of judgment from the minute I came in the door, because I wasn't in their position or had followed the same footsteps that they had. And I kind of thought to myself, I've created my own path and my own destiny. I didn't want to follow a path that was laid out in front of me that just became service provision. Do you know what I mean? I actually wanted to follow what my heart and soul wanted, which was very different from the standard training pathways. But it is funny, because you don't follow that path, the judgment that befalls you in some circumstances, I find so interesting, because in those moments I could feel myself kind of going, oh my God, in that moment I was going, am I giving away some of my personal power here because I didn't follow the path?
So their ego, and there's actually a fear around superiority and judging. So I always think that in positions of power and authority, when we go into something where we feel someone has power and authority over us, we always behave as we would have as a child in relationship to power and authority. So whatever your relationship was to power and authority as a child will all often be replicated when we experience it in real life. So that's also an interesting thing. But the judgment and superiority piece soothes people's egos. So they're as much in the shadow as you might be thinking, oh my God, I'm feeling, like this. So it's all a fear-based reaction. But when you become aware of it, and in my Dear Future Self book, I talk about these three foundations: I'm open, I'm here, and who I am. But the second part of the 369, my 369 identity methodology, the 6 is about new ways of seeing. And I always say to people, before you even imagine a thing, before you write a vision board, before you think about your desires, the first thing I would say to people is think about who is the person who's doing the desiring and who is the person that's doing the visioning. And I propose some new ways of seeing. And those new ways of seeing are around about knowing that you're multidimensional, that you should be led by your future. Your future self is always trying to tell you signals. That time is an illusion, because we always, society also uses time as a controller and oh, you have to become a doctor, you have to train for I don't know how many years, and then
Oh God, never ends.
and then you have to serve your time at this level for so many years until somebody else tells you you're good enough. And then if you apply for jobs, it's not based on who you are or what you do. It's based on a network of, old buddy framework, or, all of that. And then you need to do your time here. But the other things for me, that the two important new ways of seeing are about attention is the architecture. What am I paying attention to? So in that conversation with that person, what did you pay attention to? Maybe his judgment. As you're thinking about your future, what are you going to pay attention to? Because that's what's going to become your reality. And then what power are you giving that and yourself in your life? So even that new way of seeing before you start to even write a desires list or an intention list is really powerful. And I love my work predominantly now around about intention, is that attention and intention is identity selection.
That's so interesting. So it's about recognizing where you're placing your attention, and setting your intention for this limitless destiny.
And so when you talk about your shamanic destiny journeys, for me, do your future self is noticing how you were seen before, noticing what you're not seeing, noticing where you're outsourcing your power. And then what I do with my clients is I create this biggest desires list, like true to them. So if you maybe sat in silence for 15, 20 minutes now and just thought, like, what is I truly desire? Like, truly, not what Instagram's telling me or what my family say I should, or my career, but what do I truly, truly in this life desire?
Yeah. Wow. I love it.
People we never take the time to do that. And we never think that our desires are conditioned, but our desires are so conditioned.
Oh God, yeah. That is it. That is it to a T. And I suppose it's about it's about kind of the thought structure that existed within your home with your primary caregivers, even in school, the society structure you grew up in.
If you look at your friend group and our desires look quite similar. We've got quite similar houses and we drive quite similar cars and we live in, and so for me, an example is that I do a lot of traveling with my work now in retreats, and people are, oh, you're away on holiday again, because they're conditioned to think that travel must be holiday.
Yes. Yeah, you're so right. You are so right. And it's so magical to be able to create. It's almost like you're talking about this multi-dimensional approach where you're looking at all the different possible outcomes for you, and how do you weave all of those together into your current reality?
Yeah, and it's not. So there's a couple of things. I always think if you dream and then you know how to do it, you're not dreaming big enough. I'm not sure where that quote's accredited to. It wasn't me, but I swear by that. But I also think about the huge big dream. For me, then I bring it nearer. Yeah. So it's so it becomes doable. And all I need to think about is the right next step. And for me, it's about what is giving me joy in the moment. Like, what am I obsessed with just now? What would I love to create? What would beauty and art and all of that look like in my life? That's the identity selection piece. And not worry about where it's going to take you. And then I think it automatically takes you wonderful places, because I would never have thought as a healthcare leader that I would be creating oracle decks. I would be taking people to retreats all over the world, in Egypt and Bali, and swimming with dolphins on super yachts, and that making me money, because I was conditioned in my money story to work all month and get money at the end of the month, and then pay bills and get money at the end of the month. And that was my money identity.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. And I say this to people all the time, like, everything is energy at the end of the day. Like, that's just the reality of the world. But it's so funny that I think as kind of this kind of control structure came through society, it disconnected us from, like, I suppose, our kind of more indigenous ways of being previously. Like, in all these different lands around the world, we all had our different tribes, and we connected with energy. We connected with the land, and we connected with energetics. So people were aware of how energy worked. And that, it's so funny, because people come through to me, some people have never heard of the word outside of their energy bill. And I just find that fascinating. And to go on a journey with that, I always say to people, like, energetically, what's happening in the body, what's being reflected in the world around you. And people carry a lot of scarcity wounds.
Yeah,
And I always say to people, money is an energy. Money is an energy. So I love what you're speaking into.
if you think of money as currency, and of course what happens is it has to flow. And so, but it's also about identifying, looking at identity is identification. What do I identify with? So think about the money stories. You tell yourself, I can only make money that one way. I'm no good with money, or, you know, whatever your think about it as a relationship with money. And if money was knocking on your door right now, you'd be like, come in, what can we create together? Where are we going? Or are you like, oh my God, I don't want to see you because there's not enough of you. And also appreciating the stories you hold about people who have money, because my perception is there's enough for everyone, and that me making more doesn't take from you or anyone else. And actually, money in the hands of people who are going to do good with it can only be good at this time on the planet.
Oh God, yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I see some absolutely incredible people on social media, actually, funnily enough, that do amazing things with the money that they get, you know, and it's just mind blowing to me, because I do think that obviously it's a currency of our times,
Yeah.
you know, but can you look at it like an energetic, you know, an energetic relationship, like you're saying? And even it's so funny because we were applying for a mortgage application this week. Oh my God, it did bring up so much scarcity for me. And so it's funny we're having this conversation, because I was like, oh God, you need to watch this penny and that penny. And then I was like, no. I was like, pay all your bills, clear the decks, allow the money to come in and out. It's a flow. It's a flow.
For me, what jumping over into my own business and entrepreneur world and identity work and business work taught me is that we can make it, again, there is infinite possibility in terms of the way we make money, but also in what we allow ourselves to have. So when I worked in government, you went up an incremental hierarchical pay scale, and when you got the next job, you got this. Whereas what I found in my own business is that there are infinite ways to do that. Card deck creation, retreats, one-to-ones, my book, multiple income streams, and it's only limited by our imagination. And this is the identity step. It's like time for your dreams and desires. And then when you're setting your intentions, how can you let your imagination run away? And I call imagination your eye magic. So you've got your own eye magic. I've got my eye magic. What could that look like? Not just for money, but we know there's so much more wealth in our relationships, in the stability we might have in our life, and all the things that can bring. And I think this is where the expansion piece comes in. There's two pieces for me. There's like, how can I stretch out into my big dreams and desires? That's an expansion piece. But when we get to that leading edge, we get scared. And there's a part in my 9 that's called resistance, and that I talk about this chapter as the old story returns. So when we're at our edges, and you've probably experienced it with a lot of your clients and yourself, is like when we're scared and stretching and like, oh, could I take on that mortgage, or could I make this much, or could I deliver that? The fear is going to return. The story's going to keep at us.
Oh God, yes. Like, it does. And it's so funny because as you go on the journey with this, one of my friends contacted me this week. She's actually coming on my pilgrimage to Egypt next week. We're so excited. But she contacted me and she's like, Tony, I just received your Oracle card deck. And she said, I am so proud of you. She said, you're one of the people in my life that when you have a vision, you just go about creating it. Yeah, she's like, I need to explore when I'm away. Like, what stops me from actually acting on these? She referred to it as like a notion that comes through. And I'm like, you should have notions. I was like, let those notions in. So how do we get to that point, Senga? Like, for me, I kind of was just, I just see something and I want to create it in the world. And then when it's out the other side, I'm like, even just my practice, my plants, my home, everything is almost like this canvas to create something beautiful in the world. My garden with my flowers. I'm like, what beauty can you create in this world? And then giving yourself the permission to actually go and do it. Stop looking for someone else to tell you can.
Exactly. And the expansion piece for me is about, if your desires are truly yours, you're much more likely to follow them because they're your soul nudges. And desires are data, desires are permission, desires are the fire. Yeah. So take them seriously. But then the intention piece is about, then I'm going to write it down. And this is where you bring the big into the narrow, because if you don't narrow it down, it feels too overwhelming. So you may have a huge big, like, oh my goodness, I've written my book, but I want it to be a bestseller. Well, how I don't even know how to do that. Right, what am I going to do in the next 12 weeks towards that? So you take the wide into the narrow, and you decide for the next August, September, October, what am I going to give my attention? Because when we give our attention to 20 things, we take one step forward in 20. But when we give our attention to one thing and take 20 steps, that's when the momentum comes. So that's the attention piece. But it's also the awareness of when you're at your leading edge, where you're meant to be, the old story is always going to return. The fear is going to be there. And how can you move despite the fear? How can you walk anyway? And that's about daily decisions. And I call this like threshold points, where you know you're going to do it. You've made the decision, but you just need to take that step. And then it's the aligned action, small, right next steps, because that brings the integration. It's like you've got the card deck now. Oh, that piece is done. So the integration piece and the embodiment for that is, how am I going to be talking about it? How am I going to be celebrating it? How am I going to share it with the world? So many people do the creating bit, but they don't. I talk in the book about a create receive loop. They don't give themselves enough time to receive the response to it.
Yeah. Oh God. I think I definitely do that for sure. I get so excited about the creative piece.
Exactly. But there's also something really important about creating space for the receiving. And this is where I find people don't necessarily get the money they're looking for, because they go on to the next creation piece and they haven't integrated the receiving piece for the work they've already done.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. That's landing with me now, Senga. I'll be thinking about this on my retreat.
You're like, oh, that's the Oracle deck done. What am I creating this? No. The next creation piece is, how can I share this with the world? How can I get creative about selling it? How can I get creative about making sure it becomes a £1 million best-selling Oracle deck?
Yes. Oh, Senga, that is the vision and the dream.
But can you see how we wouldn't think of that as creativity? We would think bringing something to life is creativity, but giving it longer life and further life and letting it light up people in the world, we've got to be creative about how we do that as well.
Wow, yes. Oh my God, I absolutely love that. I'm having so many thoughts here for my own journey, because you're coming over obviously to the Oracle card deck launch tomorrow, which is so exciting. So it was actually funny. My partner was saying to me this week, he's like, how do you continue to give this to the world? And I was like, I'm not sure.
This is what you need to. So that's the next creation piece. It's like, how can I be creative? I'm doing it for me just now. It's like, how can I get the book onto podcast? How can I get it here? How can I get it here? How can I talk about it? Because otherwise, on Amazon, the average book sale is 250 books. Like, no,
Wow.
have that for your Oracle deck. Do you know, it's like,
yeah, I was like, that's only the start. That's pre-sale.
But for the listeners thinking about, and it could be creating a relationship, the effort we put into creating a relationship, but how are we allowing ourselves to receive from that and keep that create receive loop going? This is the infinity loop of wealth.
Oh my God, Senga, I love that. And you can, like, just as you're speaking about this, it's really making me realize you can apply this to every aspect of your life, because you're literally creating in every moment, really, aren't you?
Every single moment. So in my 369 and the 9, I talk about dreams and desires, the first step, and then intention setting is the second step, and then resistance is the third step. Like, expect that. Expect it.
Yeah, expect it. Mm-hmm. And so you've kind of mentioned the 369 modality. Yeah. Is this in your book? It's a methodology, isn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's an identity methodology, and it's basically a methodology for change. It's for exponential change. So we're not just tinkering, we're like going like huge. And I describe it in my Dear Future Self book. And the 3 is these identity activations I talked about. I am open, I am here, it's who I am. The 6 is the new ways of seeing. So before you write down a desire, you look at the lens through which you are desiring. You clear that lens, you bring a bit of transparency to your desiring. And then the 9 is the actual embodiment of it. Because what I find is people create, but then they very quickly go back to the same floor that they were at before. So if you think of a ceiling, we're stretching the ceiling. But if we don't integrate that work, we don't integrate the Oracle deck, we don't embody that, we just go straight back down to the same floor. So my identity work is about how are we raising that ceiling, but raising that floor. So it's like an expansion and then a stability, expansion and stability, but we're stabilizing it in new identities all the time.
Wow, amazing. And so, God, that's fascinating. And so the 369 methodology is in your new book
Yes.
that's just been released. I saw that you had the launch just a couple of weeks ago.
I'm going to bring you a copy tomorrow.
Oh my God. I was just thinking in my mind, I was like, I'm getting this book now the minute I get off this podcast.
But yeah, so the nine is the embodiment part. It's the being part. So it's about the foundations. It's about the seeing, and then it's about the being. And the create receive loop is the beginning of all integration, and then embodiment, and then the celebration. Celebration is my final part of it.
Yes. Well, do you know, when I was doing the Oracle deck course that you'd created, that was one part. You have such a beautiful energy. First of all, I could literally listen to you speak all day long. Like, you have such a radiant soul. I just love it. But what was amazing when I was doing the deck, actually, one of the first things that you'd mentioned at the very beginning of the course was you need to make sure that in the back of your mind, you're allowing this celebratory element to come through. Like, before you've even gotten to the end of it, be processing the celebration you're going to have at the end. And funny enough, one of the major downloads that I got when I was allowing kind of the information to come through when I was on my trip over in Corfu was what it would look like to be standing in front of everybody, actually holding the deck, which is wild. Yes, and that's it there in your hands.
People holding it in their hands. This is our work. It's like it's in my hand now, and it's on my desk, and it's in my mind.
Yes. Oh my God. It's just magic. And you've created a good couple of different decks yourself, haven't you?
Yeah. And so the celebration piece, my second deck is Future Signals, and it's a trilogy that goes with the Dear Future Self book. So basically, Dear Future Self is the book with the methodology. The Future Signals deck is where you have a daily pull, and it's a signal from your future. It's your identity speaking to you from your future. And then
so you're pulling it into your current moment. Yes. Oh, I love that.
Your future's speaking to you, and you're thinking, what does that, in terms of what I'm paying attention to today, what is this signal telling me about? But the celebration piece to me is really important because it's the final step in my 369 methodology, because I think celebration is the pulse of a fully alive life. That's my thought. And one of my sayings, my Senga-isms is, what a life, what a life, what a life.
Yes.
Imagine you are living in the vibration, the energetics of what a life, what a life, what a life. What could my life look like if I got up every morning expecting everything to escalate in my favor, expecting everything's working for me, miracles are happening all around me, what a life, what a life, what a life. Like, how could that not attract? Because it's like, send me my match.
Yes. Oh, yes. I just love that. And you know, when you're in that energy, if there's a vibe to that, you know, like there is just a certain feeling that comes when you're in that vibrational energy where things literally just flow.
And people respond to that. Now, that's not to say, it's not about being high vibe all the time. I mean, we lost my mum last year. Like, terrible things happen.
Yeah.
And so that's not to say that you don't have moments of silence and sadness and grieving and all of that. But it's about, life is about energetics and growing. And if you think of nature, it's always pulsing, growing, resting, onto the next thing. And this is where the celebration piece is so important, because we often don't take time to notice what we have. Oh my God, like the celebration of what I have already. You use it as celebration as a compounder. It's like, oh my God, I finished a culmination. I finished that. I said I was going to do it, and I did it.
Oh, I love that saying. I was actually, funnily enough, we're talking about not allowing the integration for certain creative endeavors, but I was putting in a book proposal this week. I found you so inspiring with regard to what you create in the world. Like, when I saw your cards and your book and everything, I was like, I can do this too. That's why I think, like, these conversations and the people you interact with, they inspire us,
Why we have to not be like, oh, I can't show that, I'm bragging. We have to showcase our brilliance so other people can say, if they can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because I took a couple of days off to write this book proposal. I thought I'd fly through it. No, it was a huge undertaking. It was a bit wild, but it was amazing because you've to put together this kind of marketing strategy and kind of sell yourself almost, you know. And when I sat down and I wrote out everything that's been created just through my practice and the cards and everything over the last 4 years, I really was like, this is an incredible reflection tool for me, because I sat back and I thought, wow, look at what you've created in the world.
And so celebrate that for yourself, because you had ideas, you brought them to life, and they are now impacting other people. And so
Isn't that magic?
but then that, and I'll say to people listening, whatever ideas you have, bring them, even no matter how ridiculous they sound, think about how you can bring them to life, because they will be the next step. So celebration is almost also a catalyst. So your oracle deck will be a catalyst for the book. When I wrote my book, it was an amazing reflection of all my bits of wisdom into a methodology.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
like,
just fabulous.
oh, this is how it all comes together. And notice the signs. One of the things I talk about in the book is when I first started writing the book, I started getting the most bizarre signs, and it was all around about Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, wow.
And so people, and like, I can't even, I'm a scientific background, I'm like a scientist, and I'm like, oh, Leonardo da Vinci's trying to speak to me. And people like, listen, might be going, now she's really going too far. I started getting his Vitruvian Man picture.
That's literally the image I got in my mind when you mentioned it.
But even better than that, and I write about it in the book, I was in Florence, and we went to the Uffizi, and there was artists outside the Uffizi, and I was pulled across to this artist. And 2 weeks before that, so my thinking was, oh my God, I love the Vitruvian Man, but it's very bound by it. He talks about how man's reflected in the universe. And I was like, right, this is a sign, listen. But I was also thinking, he's very bound, it's very masculine. What about the feminine? And I was thinking the Vitruvian woman would be in a spiral, she's ever evolving. And 2 weeks before I went to Florence, I had asked my graphic designer to draw me a picture of a Vitruvian woman. I'd sent her an image I wanted to draw, and it was done. And I went to Florence, and there was artists outside the Uffizi, which was also an important point to me. Is like, here's a gallery with millions, but here's people right beside it selling their things, as if to say, they're great, but I'm great. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Worried about, like, this is my stuff. I am here. I went to this artist, and I'd seen a picture of a tower with a 3, and my birthday's the 3rd of the 3rd. I love 369. I was like, I'm having that. And he says, no, I have something for you. And he rifled through under his table. And what did he bring out? His picture of Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man.
Oh my God. I love the synchronicity.
But then, so I was like, oh my God. But then, even better, I already decided my second chapter for my book was going to be I Am Here. And I said to him, are you on Instagram? And he said, no, I am here.
Oh my God. So he was sent you a little precious sign.
I can see the goosebumps again. And so the Leonardo thing for me is around about, he was a polymath. He was multidimensional. He was an artist, but also interested in anatomy. He was interested in humans and the cosmos, and this was just a pointer for my work. But the link with I Am Here, the presence and the placement, felt like a nod from Leonardo da Vinci. So I'll give that to you today.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. Well, it's amazing to just be open to the signs from the world around you, like the signals, as you say, that are coming from the future, giving us a little anchor in this moment to be like, keep going.
And if you have already identified your desires, you've identified what you'll put your attention to, those future signals will make sense to where you're going.
Yes. Oh my God.
Personal power meets universal power.
Yeah.
And then this for me is the bridge between source and you in radiant expression, you as source in radiant expression.
Oh, I love it, Senga. I love it. And you'd mentioned, I'd seen on your Instagram a good bit, a good part of your work and your coaching involves something called gene keys.
Yeah. And so about 8 years ago, I discovered the gene keys. It's a philosophy by Richard Rudd, and it's based on the ancient I Ching. So it comes from human design, and it's a kind of derivative of that. And gene keys is really about, it's a profiling tool based on when you were born and where. And it gives you a sort of coding for your own personal design. So it's a bit like human design, but for me, it goes into it a little bit deeper. So it appealed to, like, I like the complexity of it. And it gives an activation sequence for your genius, 4 prime gifts. It has a Venus sequence, which is about how you're coded in relationships. And it's got a prosperity sequence for how you are coded in terms of prosperity and wealth. So it appealed to me, and it worked really well for me in terms of my business clients, because I could talk about their genius. I could talk about how they are in relationships, because all of our business is relationship.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it?
And also the prosperity sequence talks about your vocation, the brand of you. There's a cultural gene key about how you best connect to other people, and whether you're here for individuals or networks. So many parts of that coding I use with my clients in gene key readings to inform their living and their business.
Wow, I love that.
And each gene key, I'll share a link that you can share with your listeners. They can go and do their own free profile, and it gives you a bit of it takes you straight to the honouring the source, back to that. But Richard Rudd talks in each gene key about a shadow, a gift, and a siddhi. And the shadow is obviously what we know, shadow work. The gift is how you move through that. And the siddhi is the highest expression of you, what I would call my highest self. Something that frustrates me a little bit about the gene key world is that a lot of people go and focus on their shadows.
Yes, yeah.
Richard talks about we should be focusing much more in my work. I would say like 90% focus on your gifts and your siddhi.
On the gifts, yeah.
I couldn't believe, but my pearl, your pearl is your money maker, the one in the middle. And what's my pearl gene key? Celebration.
Oh my God. So you've brought it all together for us.
Champagne and making money.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, it is funny because during the shamanic journeys that I do with a lot of people, especially if there's ancestors or souls that come in from across the veil, things like that, there's always a moment in which they gift them with something. And I think this is so important as well. When you go rummaging around in the shadow, always remember to retrieve the gold that you're there to uncover, you know? And I always use stones. So I collect stones from different sacred sites and I bring them back and I have them on my altar. And I give people a stone that they blow this gift and this piece of their destiny into. And then they take that away with them. And that's a little gift that they've given. And the vibration of holes in the stone, they can connect with it tangibly in their hand. And I love it. So this resonates so deeply with me, what you're saying.
I think what I find useful in the gene keys is like knowing what my shadows are, so I can go, oh, there you go again. Like my life work is truth. My gene key is truth, and the shadow is doubt, and the gift is inquiry. So basically, I help people find their truth through inquiry. Yeah.
Oh wow, I love that.
Myself, we all doubt ourselves. You know, so I know. So, oh, there you go again. And how many days as an entrepreneur are you like thinking one day, oh my God, I'm on top of the world, and the next day you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?
Most days.
We need to be like, oh, there, I just slipped into the shadow there for 3 hours. You know, it's like,
and it can consume you. Like if you give it enough energy, it literally will bring you down a dark garden path.
And this is why creating is so important. Like what, you know, at your listener saying, what am I alone here to create? Not alone as in get support for it, but what is your genius and what you've got to bring next? And it may be a retreat, it may be a program, it may be a piece of art, it may be a book, but get your 12-week plan in for it.
Yes, well, they all need your book, Senga, because they need to be able to develop their plan. And so, can you tell people essentially what products that you offer, how they access them, and how they can actually work with you? Because I feel like what we've talked about today is only like the tip of the iceberg about the brilliance that you can bring to help people find the light and their destiny.
I'm always, when people say, is like, what do you do? I'm like, well, how do I explain this? You can find me on Facebook and Instagram's the easiest way. I have a website, sengacree.com, but like everybody else's website, that needs up. My identity's changing so quickly, my website can't keep up. And so Instagram's probably the best place. But I work with clients one-to-one, mainly around living and business, but creating things might be writing a book. I've got my card deck creation lab, so anybody out there thinking an oracle decks for me, card deck creation lab's now self-study. You can jump into it any time. My one-to-one work, I work with people in doing gene keys readings, but then into other identity work and business strategy and structure. So with my strategy background, what do you need in terms of your offers creation, your marketing, your selling, your all of that, and the strategy? So it's like the identity is the inner architecture and the business is the outer architecture of that.
Oh, I love that, bring the two worlds together. The bridge.
The bridge. And I also run retreats. So my next retreat in October is in New York, and then I've got one in Scotland at the end of the year. So that's another love of mine, is bringing people together in small, intimate groups to amplify genius.
Oh, I love that, because like what I was saying, just seeing your posts, seeing you talk about some of the stuff you do, it's just really inspiring. And I think...
You are.
Oh, thank you, Senga.
Actually, I must say, the book is called Dear Future Self, and it's available worldwide on Amazon, so it's really easy to find, and it's like a little introduction into my world, a really easy way to jump into it.
I love it because there's so many, you've gifted us today with so many incredible tools just to get people starting to think differently. And I really encourage everybody, like obviously I did the card creation lab with Senga. If you are thinking about creating anything, like, and one thing I will say as well, just as we're finishing up, the women that were on the course with me, they were phenomenal with regard to the ideas of what they wanted to bring forward. It wasn't just an oracle. It was like homeopathy. There was so much stuff, wasn't there?
And this is the thing. So card deck creation is just a vehicle, but actually when individuals come in, it's like anything. Everybody brings their own thing, so no one single one's the same. And it's like, we attract who we are. And so beautiful people, thinking of everything from, homeopathy to light language to, I can't even begin to think you are my 50th person through card deck creation.
Wow. I think you might actually be my 50th podcast episode as well. Could you imagine?
I'm building a little community there, but it's just, for me, just watching people bring things to life and share them out into the world is just the best.
Yeah. Well, hopefully today from the podcast, people have got a sense of allowing themselves the permission to actually dream big and to actually allow themselves the permission to maybe take the first actionable step towards creating something that they have in their heart and soul that they want to birth into the world. Yeah. And I think what you've given people today is just that beautiful little glimmer of inspiration and hope to get them started. So I encourage everybody to go and follow Senga's work and read the book, get the decks, and for us to go on a journey with that.
Back of the Dear Future Self, it's a little QR code that takes you to a page on my website that you can download actual PDF with like a 12-week plan and a desires list. So it's like almost like strategy document that takes you through practical steps, which some people might really like, because then I've got something I can just follow and do that. And that's all there for free. There's a future self activation, and there's a spectacular self-talk download. So there's lots of little goodies on that page. I'll maybe give you the link to that page. There's also opportunity where people can write a letter to their future self, and it will send it back to you in 3, 6, or 9 months. So
I love that, Senga. I absolutely love that. We did that actually on one of our retreats as well. Everybody wrote a letter to their future self. We did a destiny retrieval, and I waited about 6 months and then sent it back to them. And the messages, people were calling me, they were contacting me, they were crying. They were like, oh my God. Like, look at, they'd forgotten about these letters. It's so magic.
We do. And so something really powerful about putting your thoughts to paper and speaking to other people about it, declaring it out loud.
Oh, Senga, it's been such a pleasure. I feel like I could continue to talk to you for the next couple of hours. But we'll definitely, when you're here tomorrow for the lunch, we'll go for a coffee and we'll continue our chats. And I'll definitely be keeping all the listeners updated on the book as I read through it. So thank you so much for your time, for being here with me. It has been an absolute gift and a pleasure. You are a gift to the world, Senga.
As are you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been just such a joy, and I can't wait to see your Oracle deck ripple effect as it spreads out all over the world.
Oh, it wouldn't have been here without you, Senga. So thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.